So here are my recommendations of what I think everybody should do for downswings. The first thing I think that's very, very important is a lot of people, when they're getting on downswings, their mental game breaks down very, very, very quickly. Especially with a long downswing, it's just going to deteriorate at a immense amount as well. So you want to make sure that you're doing everything you can to preserve that, to try to make yourself feel better, to try and recognize, when you're playing well, and so you're not always down on yourself. You're not always questioning your game. You're not always wondering if you made a mistake, and that's why you're losing. Sometimes you are losing because you're making mistakes, but sometimes you're just on a downswing. So one thing I do to help my mental state is to make sure that I'm studying at a much higher frequency than I normally would. So instead of, let's say I'm, everything's running nice and normal and there's no real big downswing or anything going on, I'm probably my total poker time, I would say like 70 to 80% is going to be play, and then 20 to 30% is going to be study of that time. And when I get into a downswing, I completely flip that. You still want to make sure you're playing poker. You still need to get in the experience. You still need to be testing the things that you're learning while you're doing all the studying. So I wouldn't completely quit, but I definitely spend a lot less time studying. A lot less time playing, sorry. So that's the first thing that I would do. The second thing is, if you can, move down in stakes a big jump. I wouldn't just go from 2-4 to 1-2. I would go from 2-4 to 25-50 cent, or at the most $1 or 50 cent dollar. This is going to do two things for you. One, while you're downswinging, it's going to dramatically reduce the impact to your bankroll. So one, you're not going to feel that pressure as much, but two, you're moving into what should be dramatically softer fields. So it's going to give you more opportunity to actually have winning sessions, which is going to increase your confidence and, again, maintain that mental state. So moving way, way down. And then the third thing that I do is I try to book wins. And I think this is a pretty important concept that probably a lot of people don't talk about, or at least I haven't heard a lot of people talking about it, but I learned this from my former coach, is when you're downswinging, you'll often notice that at the very start of your session, there might be times when you sit down, you're playing a couple tables, boom, you run really hot, and you get like 2-3 buy-ins right off the bat, but because you're downswinging, maybe as you play the rest of the session, you lose those buy-ins, and then you actually start losing money, with a bunch of negative variance coming in your way. And instead of allowing that to happen, if you do get that lucky session where you sit down and start making a bunch of money, then just get up, leave, study a little bit more the rest of the day, go do something completely unpoker related. And what that's going to do is, one, when you get back to your session the next day, you're going to have a much better mental state. You just came off a winning session. You're going to be feeling a lot better. You're going to be more confident. Even though you manufactured that winning session, you'll definitely notice a difference, I promise. And then the other thing is you don't have the opposite impact of that. So had you continued that session and potentially, had that downswing that could have happened and ended negative, now you're doing the complete opposite, where you're actually increasing the kind of the mental downslide and the downswing downslide. So booking those wins helps prevent that as well. So those are the things that I would recommend you guys do for downswings. That's the end of my rant. Back to the poker.